There are two opposing storylines circulating in news media about Australian real estate ownership. One storyline, repeated regularly by media, is that the great Australian dream is dead and that young Australians can no longer afford to buy homes and are doomed to a lifetime of renting. Now, the other one, which is revealed whenever the Australian Bureau of Statistics releases official data on real estate finance, tends to confirm that the dream is very much alive and indeed thriving. In fact, the latest lending figures show major increases in buying activity by all types of real estate consumers, including first home buyers. Now, media loves negative sensation about housing affordability, and very often the truth is optional. Some organisations who crave publicity to lift the profile of their businesses regularly feed this weakness in news media by creating bogus reports about Australian housing affordability. They do this usually by applying a set of parameters that are irrelevant and unrealistic. So here's a typical example. A so-called research organisation will create a report that examines how long it takes a young couple to save a 20% deposit to buy a house at the median price in Sydney or Melbourne, or how much a person needs to earn to achieve a loan for this. Now, there are multiple reasons why this is a nonsense, designed to create a headline rather than to inform the public. Indeed, these reports are full of furphies. Furphy number one, you don't need a 20% deposit. You can get into real estate ownership with a 10% deposit or even a 5% deposit under one of the federal schemes. Furphy number two, first home buyers don't buy at the median price in Sydney or Melbourne or anywhere else. They buy in the lower price ranges. The city median is irrelevant to the circumstances of young buyers and the issue of affordability. Furphy number three, these reports always overlook attached dwellings as an option for buyers seeking affordability. In many capital cities, the median price for units is half the median price for houses, sometimes less than that. But these bogus reports never speak about this viable, popular and more affordable option. So why are these so-called research reports full of irrelevant and misleading information? Because the goal is not to inform people or help people or improve the situation for the community. The goal is always self-serving and dishonest to create free publicity by generating alarm in the community. And journalists are happy to recycle this nonsense as factual news. In Sydney, the median house price is close to 1.5 million according to CourtLogic, but this is irrelevant to people seeking affordability in our most expensive capital city. What is considerably more relevant is how much it costs to buy a unit, for example, in the Canterbury-Bankstown area of Sydney, where there are plenty of viable options in multiple suburbs in the price range from $400,000 to $600,000. What it costs to buy a house in the more affordable parts of Greater Sydney, like the local government areas of Liverpool, Parramatta and Blacktown. And of course, there is also the reality that over 20 million Australians live in places other than Sydney, and the median house price for our most expensive city is utterly irrelevant to them. How about some focus on what it costs to buy, for example, a house in the affordable northern suburbs of Adelaide, or an apartment in the inner city Brisbane suburb of Bowen Hills, or in the inner city Perth suburb of Belmont, or a house in the outer ring areas of Greater Melbourne. And what about regional Australia, which is attracting growing numbers of new residents relocating from the biggest cities in search of a different lifestyle and powered by technology that allows more and more people to work remotely? So let me tell you, the home ownership dream is very much alive right across Australia. How can I be so sure? Because the official lending data confirms it. The latest statistics from the ABS, which is for the month of June, shows that we're currently seeing growing numbers of people buying homes as first home buyers, other types of owner-occupier buyers, and as investors. Lending for the purchase of homes across Australia rose 19% in June compared to a year earlier. In June, lending to owner-occupier buyers was up 13%, compared to a year earlier, with an even larger increase in loans to investors. There's also a rise in lending to first home buyers, though not as large an increase. So it should be fairly self-evident that lending levels would not be rising, including for first home buyers, if it was true that no one can afford to buy anymore. We have, in fact, highly active property markets in most parts of Australia, and buyers of all kinds are active. So next time you see one of those shallow media headlines declaring that the dream is dead and that young Australians are priced out of the market and doomed to a lifetime of renting, don't believe it.